Welcome back. Indiana Republican Congressman Marlin Stutzman, who sits on the House Budget Committee and Financial Services Committee. We were having audio issues before. We figured it out. Thank you for sticking with us, sir.
Sure. Happy to do that. Thank you again.
So like we were talking about, the government shutdown, the clock is ticking. The deadline is on Tuesday. Where do negotiations stand this morning?
Yeah, again, we're waiting for the Senate to come to some sort of agreement on the continuing resolution that House Republicans passed last week. And, I think this is one of those situations where this is just, we're giving ourselves more time to finish up the appropriations process. The CR that we passed out of the House also has extra security funding for elected officials around the country after we've had these shootings like in Minnesota and, of course, the Charlie Kirk assassination. This is an extension. And really, to me, it seems like it should not be that hard to do on the Senate side. We passed it out of the House, and we're waiting now for Republicans and Democrats to come to an agreement. I think the biggest challenge is just simply that the last CR that was passed out of the Senate, Chuck Schumer got a lot of heat. And so he's probably trying to figure out how to navigate what are the next steps going forward.
The continuing resolution you voted for would have funded the government until November 20th. Certainly a short-term solution to a long-term problem. But what happens to the nearly 25,000 federal workers in your state of Indiana? What is your message to them?
Well, I was talking to, even our office yesterday. It's like, just sit tight. Ultimately, they're going to get their paychecks. If government does shut down, there's going to only be those essential employees that will be coming into the office. But we've seen this before, and unfortunately, it's become too much the norm that we come up to these deadlines, and we're still waiting for Congress to pass some sort of a resolution, whether it's a CR or if it's actually a budget. But this is really a time where we have to, look at where we're at. We have $37 trillion of debt. We're spending more money on interest than we're spending on our military. And so these are times that we have to really tighten our belt up, and that's what House Republicans are determined to do.
And the big issue, as you well know, sir, is Obamacare subsidies, which are set to expire. They help lower the cost of health insurance plans purchased in the current marketplace. You are part of the Freedom Caucus, and you and your caucus are in favor of letting them expire. Can you explain to our viewers why?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we're seeing is that there's a lot of providers that are taking money off the top. I mean, I was meeting with some constituents this last week at a diaper care center, and that provides baby products for the needs of families that are just trying to make ends meet. And I keep hearing the same thing over and over. The cost of life is just so much. The cost of healthcare is so much. And we're starting to see this pattern where healthcare providers have driven the cost up on all of these. And I think that, it sounds like the subsidies would be something helpful to do that, but it's just a short-term fix. We actually need to drive the cost down. And what I see in a lot of these healthcare providers and insurance companies, they're making a lot of money, and we need to force them to the table to bring prices down.
With all of that said, if we break down the numbers across the country, more than 22 million Americans receive these Affordable Care Act subsidies. In your district alone, there are 28,000. So what are these voters supposed to do if they do lose these tax credits?
Well, I think it goes right back on the insurance companies and also onto healthcare providers. In fact, one of the providers that I have in my district is one of the most expensive in the country. And it's, they've had beautiful facilities. I mean, they provide top-notch care, but this is one of those situations where other hospitals are now looking to come in and actually are building a new hospital to compete with the more expensive one. And, as I talk to these CEOs, we keep hearing excuses, and I get it. They're building new buildings, and it's a cost to them that they have to pay for, but it shouldn't be falling back on people who are just trying to make ends meet. And that's the frustrating part for me as I talk to my constituents and also see how the healthcare system is working right now. It's too expensive, and we're going to have to drive costs down.
So what is your message to these insurance companies?
They need to start paying attention. President Trump has already capped prices for pharmaceuticals. they're going to walk themselves into the same situation where if they don't want Congress to act, and which we are going to by stopping the subsidies, they're going to be the ones that need to figure out how to provide good quality health care without these high costs. I believe they're just as bloated as the federal government, and they're going to have to figure out through competition, which is happening, that they need to focus on patients, not on bottom lines all the time.
Congressman, let's switch gears to foreign policy. Security negotiations are happening right now between Israel and Syria. Israel would de-escalate its attacks. Syria would stop moving heavy machinery near Israel's border. You have created a very strong diplomatic relationship with Syria. So talk to me about where things stand now.
Yeah, actually, I'm very optimistic about the security of the region there in the Middle East. Of course, I have a great relationship with Israel and with Syrian officials as well. In fact, we just had a meeting last night, getting caught up on the speech that al-Shara gave at the United Nations. I have a lot of constituents in my district. This is an opportunity of a lifetime for the Syrian people. They have been living under such oppression and under a brutal dictator under Assad, and he's gone as of last December. This is, now we have a new government there, and that's the big question that everybody's asking. Who is al-Shara? What is he? What kind of president is he going to be? But I think he's been making all the right steps. It's kind of, actions speak louder than words. And he's been doing the best he can under some very difficult circumstances. Of course, President Trump lifted the sanctions back in May, and we just need to get their economy growing. They're not asking for money. They're not asking for military. They're just simply asking for the sanctions to be lifted. But also the relationship between Syria and Israel could be a very strong one. And that's what I'm hoping, that we can build that bridge between those two countries for the security and also just for the prosperity of both countries.
Republican Marlon Stutzman of Indiana. Congressman, thank you for your time this morning, and thank you for sticking with us.